Hello everyone, this is a showcase of character called Templar. It is Dream plus defense and it's very good tank, and he also has very strong area of effect attacks. Maybe not very fast, but it's a very defensive character who can tank and kill groups of small mobs, and he can also survive against bosses quite easily. So we'll start with very short part of gameplay, and then I will explain skills and gear, because stats are very easy. As always, we are just put all points into dexterity, 450 points now, and defensive ability 715 without any buffs. And you can notice I have 352 health regeneration, and this is the base of the build, and we'll talk about details later, but you can just notice that I have very high health regeneration. This is epic difficulty, as you can see here, and we'll go through two bosses on epic. So we start with Trance of Wrath, which is our main source of damage, and defensive buff called Better Awareness. It's mostly giving us defensive ability, which generally well, it adds to the whole tanking thing. Now we can start with grouping some mobs together. It's kind of choppy here, it's always in this area like this, so you have to just survive it and, you know, live with it. It's gonna be choppy, probably because of the fog effect here. Now we press X, and just to get all the loot visible, all the better loot, because X is giving us generally yellow items and better. And we can also see piles of loot. We can just focus on collecting loot, because the enemies are unable to do anything to us. And basically everything they do goes into regeneration, and we are not even dropping below 800. Basically it's just twitching like this, and we're all the time at full health. Another pile. We can take some more enemies. I guess there will be maybe one more group here, and we'll be moving to the boss. Yeah, I'll just kill all of those guys. We can kill them all with the group hour effect, which is exactly Distort Reality. It's maxed. I mean, the second part of this is maxed, and the left mouse button is for Psionic Touch, but most damage comes from this Wrath, Trance of Wrath. It's like 180 electrical burn plus some bonuses to this. It's like constant damage to all the enemies. Now we can collect boss and his minions, and you can see the defense in action. I'm basically standing in poison, and they are slowly losing HP. Small guys are losing faster because they have a lower HP bar, and the boss is losing it slower because it has longer HP bar. Now we can attack with the right mouse button, then slowly poke him with our spear. You can notice some criticals going on, because this build also have some offensive ability, so we can crit from time to time. And that's it for the boss. So as you can see, no problems. I am standing on epic in the poison, and I'm regenerating through it. We just open this chest, maybe we'll find something good. I'm just collecting yellow stuff, and we are moving to the next boss, which is the Centaur, Nessus, I guess. And I'm just checking if everything is loading. Yes, it is. And I'll show you how you can actually get damaged a bit, because they are going to use net on us. And as far as I remember, net is a hunter ability which lowers our defense, so we'll start getting hit at some point. But I'm all the time playing with one hand, and maybe I will use a health potion or not, we'll see. First I'll just go into the fight like this, let them all hit me. I'm not doing anything, I'm just letting the trance do the damage. And I don't see the net going on, but we're kinda losing HP, but it's regenerating very fast back to where it was. Now they all died, which means they can't do any damage to us anymore. We can now finish off the rangers. Now we'll be fighting just the boss like this. He can't do anything because we regenerate too fast. Right now our adrenaline activated, so it's even higher temporarily. Now we are at 400. health regeneration, dropped back to 350. And we can do the right mouse button, left mouse button, and the boss is down. So that's how it goes. Very nice build. Tons of regeneration, very good against groups, very good for tanking. You can co-op with him, you can grind with him. He's way stronger on normal difficulty for just grinding and killing enemies. If you want to farm something, you can simply run around or even stand in place and everything will just keep dying around you. Very efficient. And on epic it's slower, but it's still very safe. Now look at our resistances. We have 40, almost 39 in the two elements, 55 in the third one, 52 in poison, even though we have minus 40 to everything. We have maxed pierce resistance, slightly lowered vitality and bleeding. Energy resistance is at 0, it's not at minus at least. We have maxed stun resistance and almost maxed 70% disruption resistance. So it's pretty good resistances for the epic. Now we'll be moving to, I guess I can just switch now to normal. I will show you the farming on normal, and then we'll talk about statistics, well, mostly gear and skills. So I'll just moving to the farming spot. We move where we always move, in between those two. Then we activate our damage aura. We detonate everything around us, and we can just stay here. Maybe I'll also kill those two guys here. Just touch them. Okay, they will burn. Now we can stand right in the middle and collect experience. I will press X so we can see what's dropping. And I will talk now about skills and gear. So let's start with gear. I'm using legendary viny growth on 4 parts. Here, here, and here. So all of them are giving us tons of regeneration, especially helmet, because it has 144 health regeneration on its own, plus a very good legendary vine growth, which has health regeneration and health regeneration percentage, and more health regeneration and health regeneration percentage on top of this. So this is the best possible legendary vine growth you can find. You should always aim for those, or weaker versions if you're not yet level 44. At level 34 you can be using epic ones, and lower level 18 you can use normal ones. Now helmet is giving us mostly health regeneration. Same goes for armbands, for leggings, for torso armor. Torso armor doesn't have it, it's actually a little bit different. So we have 3 parts with innate health regeneration, 1 part without. All of them have legendary viny growth, and we also have some regeneration on shield. Now moving to weapon, this is actually a spear from legendary. That's why it has very high damage, and as you can see it only needs level 10, 164 strength, which we have, and 404 dexterity, which we definitely have, because this is purely dexterity build. So what you have to do, you have to take 1 character from legendary, buy weapon there and move it through caravan guy, and then you can use it on any dexterity build at level 10, if you can make dexterity 400 at level 10. So you can use very strong weapon on a very low level character. That's how you do it. I have Essence of Zeus Thunderbolt. It's the basic one, I think, so you can always exchange it to legendary, but we have time for that. And now let's look at the artifact. It's mostly electrical burn damage and slightly energy leech, so we can leech a little bit of mana if we hit someone with mana. And it's increasing our wrath damage because it's electrical burn, so it's generally for damage and slightly for mana stealing. Then the torso armor is giving us more elemental resistance. That's why our resistances on normal are almost 80. As you can see, it's 80 or 79, and the other resistance are at 35 and again 80, 70. So very high, almost maxed. Pretty much all 5 first resistances are almost maxed. Kinda thanks to this one, especially this elemental resistance is helping. And we also have very strong legendary necklace. It's 43 to all elements, 49 pierce resistance, and 42 poison. So it guarantees pretty much more than 40% to all resistances. It also helps us carry our items. Without it we couldn't use the helmet, so it's helping us reach the thresholds for strength, intelligence, dexterity, whatever we are using. And now for the rings. And this is not very good ring because it mostly gives us poison resistance and very little health regeneration. We could have better one if we just use any ring with Isis. The Ankh of Isis, it's way more health regeneration, but I wanted to have some poison resistance, especially on epic, because poison can be nasty. And with this we have like around 50 poison resistance on epic, which is helping us. It also has energy shield skill, which we can use on our character, and it's gonna protect us from cold and lightning. Not that cold and lightning is very common in the game, but it's additional layer of defense if we are fighting some mages or something. It's not that bad really. I'm mostly keeping it for the poison, and I will probably exchange this ring to something else when I find something better, but it's just what I could find. And the other ring is for strength. Without it we couldn't use the helmet. So again, I kinda need it for the stats, and I also use Epic Demon Blood. You can find Epic Demon Blood, basically any Demon Blood, on tons of demons, and it can actually get elemental resistance. So without it, we could have less elemental resistance, and this is bringing it almost to the cap. So it's helping. Stun resistance is useful, even though we actually have, well, we would have 70, but we would have only 30 on epic, and this is guaranteeing us almost full stun resistance, so we can keep moving and we don't get stun locked easily. Also, it helps against vitality damage, might be helpful a little bit. It's not the best ring, but that's what I have. And that would be it for the gear. So it's mostly about health regeneration. Now moving to skills. Let's start with maybe defense. What's most important in defense? I kinda want Iron Will for 70 stun resistance. It's bring it to max, so it's helpful. Then this one is very important, armor handling. It's basically the most important skill on every defender. Less strength requirement, we can use better gear faster and without putting points into strength. So we can focus on defense, on dexterity, and we can still use some strength weapons. Maybe not the best ones, but we can use like those from the end of normal difficulty and some from epic. So this is kind of helpful. And then we have 1 point into shield attacks. Might work where I'm using shield because I want to have more items with health regeneration. That's why I keep shield. It doesn't have to be any great shield, but any shield with health regeneration will do. And if we will slow the enemy attack or reduce their defense, that's cool. It's not always activating, it's very rarely activating, but we want it. Also, what is important here, we have diminishing returns. So first point gives us 6 points, 6% chance, and the next point only improves it from 6 to 8. So we definitely want 1 point here, not necessarily max it, but 1 point we definitely want. This is a quick recovery. It helps for shield blocking if we have very hard fights and we are still getting hit, even though we have all the defense and regeneration. We can use this for a short boost. Maybe for boss fights or harder enemies. It's not very often used, but again, I want to have the option to use it. I sometimes do. And this is very important. Battle awareness, we want it maxed as soon as possible. So I would still have to max at least this basic level for defensive ability. This is most important to lower the amount of hits on us and lower the amount of criticals on us. It's quite a nice bonus, so it should be maxed at some point. Then we have shield block. I'm not really basing on shield block because it has delay. So after we block, we have delay and we get hit anyway. But eventually you can max it, and this is pretty good just for the stun resistance. Then we have the rally, which can increase even further our health regeneration, around by 50 points, and it can heal us a bit. So it's, if you have problems, you can use it instead of health potion. We can use it in the middle of combat. Also can use it plus health potion. That's for hard fights. I'm not remaxing it yet, but mostly because it's just 10 seconds out of 45, so we could have it activated for like 25% of the gameplay, so not often. I'm usually putting more focus on passives than just activated buffs that last for a while, then they disappear. And this is for adrenaline. We definitely want it maxed, but it's not a priority. 1 point is okay. Also thanks to Diminishing Returns. 1 point, first point is more important than the next point, so 1 point here, 1 point here, and 1 point here. And this is the most important part. It can improve our health regeneration as we get hit. So we have this 350, this will push it to like 400 or more. Then we can further push it with rally. So we have one skill that will activate on its own from time to time, and we also have another skill that we can activate. And even if we don't activate any of those, we still have 300 flat basic regeneration, which is very good. This is for maces, so I'm not gonna use it, and I still didn't make it to the further skills. Probably I will get Colossus. 1 point in those two. Maybe this one will be maxed and some point to get more elemental resistance for legendary, but it's not a priority. As for Dream Mastery, mostly Trance of Wrath for damage. You can experiment with Trance of Convalescence if you want to just keep fighting and have even more health regeneration. Basically the most regeneration you can have in the game is Dream and Defense because of this. And then we add Adrenaline and Rally, and we go to very sick numbers. It's not really maxed character yet. This 300 health regeneration is just the start. We can have triple legendary ices on top of that. We can have one more item and like torso armor, and probably we can even have some better rings that also have some health regeneration. We can go much further than that. Right now I'm at 300, probably can be better. Trance of Empathy, at some point you might want to use this instead of this, because if they are hitting you, they are getting some damage reflected. If the damage they do is very high, then they're actually gonna get hit stronger than from Trance of Wrath, but they actually have to hit you. So it just depends what difficulty you're fighting, what kind of enemy. This is better for normal, so you should prioritize Trance of Wrath, but at some point you might want to switch to Trance of Empathy. Now here we have this defensive ability, very key to the build. We want it as high as possible, that's why we push this one, not this one, the Battle Awareness. It's also defensive ability, plus this passive, Premonition, and plus all the dexterity you can get. So it's growing slowly, and we're getting hit less and less and for less damage, because it's also diminishing damage that we actually take. This is for a chance to avoid projectiles and slow resistance, not very important, but we can eventually max it. Now I'm slowly maxing this for more damage. I don't really need it for normal because it's already maxed here on Trance of Wrath, but we can then add Lucid Dream and make it even stronger. Then we have 1 point into each of these three, just to be able to summon Nightmare and have a pet. He will do something, not much, but eventually, especially if we get some stuff with plus skills, this is gonna be stronger. He's going to do some damage, distract some enemies, not the greatest thing, but it's better to have one pet than have nothing. Again, 1 point into Psionic Touch and Psionic Burn. It's just to improve our main attack, which is mostly just the weapon that we have, because we have very strong weapon. And this is adding a little bit of damage on top of this, if we are actually fighting, which we don't necessarily have to fight all the time, because most damage is just our aura. But if you want to add additional damage or hit bosses harder and faster, it's good to have something on left button. Right button is Temporal Rift Max. This is 500 electrical burn damage, plus some more damage from this one, and also stuns the enemy. So this is a big area of effect attack which can clear the entire group of mobs. Not necessarily on epic and legendary, but it's going to stun them. But it's going to wipe out whole groups of enemies on lower difficulty. This is a defensive field. Again, it can sometimes activate, 5% chance, not so much. It has a delay, but if it activates, that's awesome. It's gonna make us even more tanky. Then this one is basically very similar to Distort Reality. We can do an area of effect attack again, so it's like 2 attacks. This one has delay of 16 seconds, this one has delay of 12 seconds, so we can use both if you have them maxed. It also can attack a couple of targets, like 3 targets right now. So we can wipe some enemies with this, then we can attack with this and wipe out 3 more. Very useful. Eventually you want to have 2 area of effect skills that we can activate and 1 constant aura that works all the time. So then we have like 3 sources of area of effect attack. And I was experimenting a bit with Distortion Wave. Didn't work too well. It's not that strong anymore. Right now it's too weak. Maybe it's maxed and it's kinda useful. We could use it, but it's not key to the build. I was just trying at the beginning of this character. I was trying to use this, but it didn't work too well. The only thing to consider here is that you can use it at level like 1. Actually level 2 you get mastery, you put 1 point in dream, you can already have this, and you have some sort of area of effect wave. It will be very strong on very low difficulty, like very first levels, but then you would have to put lots of points into this, so I preferred the aura and the strongest like nuke attacks instead of this. Also they attack in circle, this attacks in a cone, so I prefer a circle because they usually the enemies go in circle around you. It's better to wipe them out like with a spherical attack than a cone attack. And that would be it. So a very nice character. You can farm on normal like this. You can easily go through epic. You can farm anything you want on normal, and you can also kill bosses with it, even on epic. So very nice tank, very fast clearing, idle farming, and tremendous potential for health regeneration. Basically, it's the best health regeneration character you can have. So that would be it for Templar. I will see you in next video about next character and some other tricks. I hope it was informational enough for you, and thanks for attention, and we'll see you in another video.